The Keystone Y is the intersection of two four-lane U.S. highways in the Black Hills. An iconic timber-framed bridge now quickly directs traffic to and from Mount Rushmore and other attractions. But in the 1950s and early 60s, the Keystone Y was a bottleneck, crowded and unsafe. The proposed solution was a bridge unlike any other in the country at the time. A film produced by the South Dakota Department of Transportation and preserved by the South Dakota State Archives documented the project from start to finish.
There was a definite need for increased lanes and for a smooth interchange of patterns. Design engineers in the South Dakota Highway Department felt the interchange structure should be in keeping with the aesthetic values indigenous to the region and began working on plans.
Clyde Junt on the right was the chief design engineer. Ken Wilson on the left was assistant bridge engineer. Their job was to design a three-level bridge constructed mainly of wood and make it look good.
There was a promoter, Carl Reese was his name, for the timber industry, I think, or he had some connection with it. And anyway, he talked our commission, or whoever he needed to talk, into putting a piece of furniture out there at the Keystone Y. That's the way he put it. And so that's pretty well how it came about.
We knew you had to design a tri-level of some kind, and that something that would be perhaps unique and fitting in the environment you had out there.
Well, just like any other design, we just started designing.
Never had done an arch, and actually had done very little in wood, to be honest with you. So it was a little scary.
Also, during the early planning stages, Highway Department bridge design engineers Wilson and Junt had traveled to Portland, Oregon, to study the feasibility of the proposed laminated wood arches.
And they were very nice hosts, and they showed us their plant and how they do things and this type of thing, and gave us some pointers as to what we can do and can't do in this larger construction with wood.
On location at the Keystone Y, construction was proceeding full pace. A massive clearing project was required to open space for 7 highway grades and their supporting drainage features. Property owners who had sold right-of-ways through which the road would go were allowed to remove and sell their own timber. Those who did not do so by the contract deadline relinquished their timber rights to the Highway Department contractors. Meanwhile, the heavy earth-moving machinery had moved in and was transforming the roadway to the bridge site. It was an extremely rocky and densely wooded area, and much of the early work was spent on clearing the roots and blasting and hauling the rock outcroppings. On the larger fragments, Prima cord connected the many blasting holes required to break up the massive rocks.
The timber arches were shipped from Oregon to California for finish work. They came to South Dakota by rail and were loaded onto trucks.
There was a difference, however, in the flatness of the road bed, and an unfortunate accident occurred. On a slanting curve of the road, the first truck was overturned by the weight of the arches. The second truck was immediately reloaded so that the weight would exert less lateral leverage on the slanting curves. No one was injured, but the 3 arch sections which fell with the first truck were rejected by the highway engineers, and 3 completely new arches had to be constructed.
The highway director had a meeting, had us down there, had the contractor. They were going to talk about how we were going to pay for this, and that these can be salvaged. And the director asked us if they could be used, and we said no. And he said, well, then they're rejected, and we'll see you in court. You know, now, there aren't very many directors or people that got that kind of guts. This guy was, I really admired him.
The rejected timber arches were removed and now stand adjacent to Highway 16 on the site of a closed tourist attraction. New timbers were delivered, work continued, and the Keystone Y was dedicated in 1968.